With peace in the fur trade, Seven Oaks prospered. The community grew as the Hudson's Bay Company employees exchanged their nomadic existence for the stability of agriculture and commerce. The survival of the colony in its earliest days had been partly due to the hardy nature of the Scottish settlers and partly to the assistance they received from the natives of the region, led by Chief Pegwis.
Had it not been for Pegwis and his people, the Selkirk settlers probably would have given up and left. They wouldn't have known how to survive on this land, because Pegwis taught them how to hunt, how to use native flowers and vegetables for medicines and food and the rest. So Pegwis should get more credit for Winnipeg than he gets.
In fact, the Scottish and Aboriginal communities became closely integrated as many settlers and retired fur traders married native women. Together, they built a thriving, vibrant, and unique society. And to meet the needs of their growing community, some of the more enterprising members turned to commerce, becoming the first private merchants on the prairie. One of these was John Inkster, a retired HBC employee who married a native woman named Mary Sinclair and became perhaps the most prosperous farmer and merchant in Seven Oaks. The Inkster's home, built in 1853, is called Seven Oaks House and is named after the same group of trees as the famous battle, which had taken place just a stone's throw away. The house is now operated as a museum by the city of Winnipeg and illustrates the level of comfort and convenience the residents of the area had achieved by the mid-1800s. Attached to the house is the store, where John Inkster sold the increasing number of agricultural and household goods required by the growing settlement. John and Mary had 9 children, and their descendants played an important role in the development of the settlement into a city. The most notable of these was their son, Colin Inkster, who would serve in the first Manitoba legislature and then enjoy 50 years as the province's high sheriff. Colin Inkster's home is also still standing. Called Bleak House because of the absence of trees surrounding it when it was constructed, its property is now far from bleak, and the house is today used as a senior center. 1851 was an important year for the colony's Scottish settlers. The Reverend John Black arrived from Britain, and the Presbyterians finally had a minister of their own faith.
Yeah, to the Selkirk settlers who came, as you know, in 1812 or so to begin with, the 40 years that followed before they got their minister, they likened to the time the children of Israel were in the wilderness with Moses.
The arrival of John Black meant that the Presbyterians could begin the construction of their own church, which they located at the opposite end of the colony from St. John's. The church's design is based on the original in the parish of Kildonan in Scotland, and it remains standing to this day.
The pews you see in the church are not original to the building. Originally, the church was divided into a series of boxes known as box pews, and there was one for each family who wanted to rent them. They were rented on an annual basis, and that provided the income for the church. They didn't take up collections in those days. The closer you sat to the front, the more you paid for your pew.
Even after 40 years in a new country, the Selkirk settlers remained attached to their heritage, and their homeland is fondly recalled on the headstones of many of those who journeyed from Scotland and found their final resting place on the Canadian prairie. But the future would be anything but peaceful. As their community grew and began to attract the attention of others, Seven Oaks would once again find itself on the front line as the Métis under Louis Riel once again raised the question of who should rule the West.